Good morning, everybody. I'm John Newquist, and we're going to cover tool safety. This is on the CSP CHST STSC STS SMS test. The BCSP has got now 60,000 people that have one of the 8 credentials, and we record this for other people to use later on. This is probably going to be the 22nd, 23rd video. Again, I write the questions or rewrite the questions based off what I've seen from my experience. They're never the exact CSP, ASP type of questions from BCSP because they do not want us to use the exact questions. So we comply with it. It's used in several tests. CHST's got twice. Tool safety was originally in the 1970 CSP test, so we have 100-some plus questions on tool safety in the bank. You'll probably get 1 to 4 in a CHST with powder actuated tools and hand tools. CSP would be probably just 1 question on it, and you notice it's got the word robotics. STSC, hand and power tools, same as SMS and STS, probably 1 question on that area. You could always get 2, you could always get 4, but 1 is pretty common. If you look at what OSHA cited in 2024, compressed air for cleaning by far is out. You have to have the pressure reduced to clean the wood chips, metal chips to 30 psi. Grinders have to be guarded. They all come with the grinder guards. You got to make sure they're on there. If it's not able to be found, you got to order a new equipment or buy a new grinder. Condition of the tools and equipment have to be in good shape. Cannot produce a hazard. And then equipment designed for air hoses and connections. Hoses got to be in good shape. And abrasive wheels, the cutoff wheels, will be guarded. In construction, tools that are designed for a guard, doesn't matter what it is, all have to have some kind of guarding on it. Guarding a portable circular saw. I'm surprised there was 41 cases in 2024 that OSHA saw. I didn't see any last year. It's been a while since I've seen the portable saw with the guard even jammed up or missing, but I just don't see it. Grinding machines will have a safety guard very similar to the other one we had in industry, and then guards will be mounted to maintain proper alignment. If you don't have the guard protecting your face and the wheel shatters, then that's not at any point of the guard, because some of these guards can move based on your positioning. Guarding of table saws, number 2 source of amputations, over 2,500 amputations since 2000. You got to have the guard on it. Powder actuated tool. It is using gunpowder, literally, as a firing mechanism to fire a fastener. So some people call it a bullet, but it's really called a fastener. One guy in 2003 fired in his hand and while pressing the safety. You have to have the safety pressed down to fire. This one shouldn't have happened because you have to be conscious. Never point it at a person. Always presume it's loaded. Check and see if the cartridge is in the chamber. You're going to wear, earring protection and eyeglass safety. You're never going to fire in cast iron because it's so strong or brittle it can shatter and cause a ricochet. The industry standards got to have the design that meets an ANSI standard. They're Remington, Hilti, Ramset are common tools. A lot of people will be qualified to operate this by taking specialized training of maybe half an hour to an hour. It does look like a pistol. It's got a trigger and it's got a barrel, and it's going to fire this fastener. This fastener is like a big nail, and if you shoot it at somebody, it could kill them. It's designed to go through tough, harder objects, but not super strong things like cast iron. Here's a person in the 80s. They shot through a piece of thin plywood and killed a person. Then we had another person go through drywall. That's too strong of a tool for this. And today, we're going to have, drywall impact wrenches with screws to do a lot better job. So we'll have a series of knowledge checks. Again, these are not the real questions, but you'll get similar questions to this. With workers using a powder actuated to fasten the metal into concrete, the worker skips the testing of the material's hardness. What does this hazard present? A, excessive noise exposure. B, projectile ricochet. C, electrocution. D, dust inhalation. And you are correct. It is a projectile ricochet, number B. During a toolbox talk, you're asked to recommend controls for the powder actuated tool. What's the most critical control? So you're going to get a lot of these, what's the most, what's the best. This means there's often two correct answers, but which one is the best? And this is tough, you know, but you have to remember they are going to be scenario based. You're going to see almost all these questions starting to go to a scenario based question, and they like that, and so this is going to take some more time to read. A, wearing noise canceling headphones. B, ensuring the operator tool is trained. C, wearing safety shoes. D, maintaining a constant power source. The answer is ensuring the operator tool is trained. It is important to have, you know, hearing protection and wearing surf, but if you don't have the person trained or qualified, then that's how we get these accidents and deaths. Grinders, several hundred accidents a year. This is a grinder used without a guard. He's trying to do a door jam, trying to get underneath the door jam so it won't stick to the bottom of the threshold. And he pinched the frame. The frame pinched the top of the wheel. It kicked back and hit the employee in the bicep. If it had a guard, the guard would have hit the employee in the bicep. A laceration, to repair the surgery, or surgery to repair the laceration could be very expensive. And if they're hospitalized, you know it wasn't just a nick or a little cut. It was probably several parts of the muscle or tendon got severed. And that's just expensive. You know, considering this thing had a guard and you're just using it without it. Abrasive wheels would be used without a guard. Here we got the guard. You notice the angle of this. If that wheel shatters, it's not going to come directly back at him. It could ricochet off this hub and fly back, but he's got a face shield and heavy clothing, so gonna have pretty good protection as far as wheel damage and stuff. You know, Chuck Hood was out there cutting on a piece of metal, and the grinding wheel shattered. One went in the drywall. One hit his safety glasses. You notice this 3M Virtua glasses has a rubber cushion. I tell people, if you don't have a face shield, you do want to probably think about getting this, because that can take an impact. You don't have impact, like a lot of safety glasses don't have impact protection. As far as a cushion, then the plastic, which is ANSI rated, will hit your eyeball and could rupture your eyeball, you know, which I've seen happen. So I've seen people get hit so hard that 80% of their sight in that eye goes out. So I always tell people, maybe when wearing grinders, get the ANSI rated face shield with safety glasses. What's the wheel speed, Chuck? I can't read it. It's not good. We cannot use a wheel on a grinder we don't know the speed. If this grinder is going 8,000 RPM and we put a wheel that's only for 5,000, it'll easily shatter because it's going so fast it was not designed for that. You always can look at the grinding wheels and see the speed, 4,400 RPMs. OSHA wants a ring test on these. That means they want to make sure that they have a non-metallic object tap around, and it should make the same kind of sound. This one was a pretty ugly accident. This is a pneumatic grinder, and it goes fast, 18,000 RPM. Nothing goes faster than pneumatics that I usually see. I'm sure there's somebody will say, you know, I got one that goes 25. These go fast. Again, the wheel was rated for only 13,000 RPM, so we're pushing it 4,000 plus faster on revolutions per minute. He doesn't have an ANSI rated face shield. That's useless. It just goes right through it. It knocks out several teeth. Damages lip, gets 12 stitches. If you don't like the dentist and you know you got to pull out all these broken teeth and get implants, and those are, if you read about implants, long, complicated surgery, not very fun, not very, you know, pain-free as they usually call it. Some people have to actually get knocked down and take a sedative and, you know, have an anesthesiologist put them out because of the pain and, you know, terrifiedness of being in this thing. But, you know, by the time you're done, you know, each of these implants could cost thousands of dollars. As one guy goes, I said, well, you got a car in your mouth. I mean, you got $50,000, $60,000 of dental surgery. That's a lot of money for not having a guard, not having the wheel speed rated for it, you know. So I tell them, it's your mouth, you know, you got to make sure. OSHA always going to pick, if this machine is sold with a guard, they go in there and they see no guard on it. This one was cited $1,700. You got to explain why you would use it without a guard, or where is the guard? That's really what they're going to ask. Where's the guard? What were you trained on? Is this okay to use as it is? These are tough questions. Again, we talked about the reading test, both industry and construction. Look for that wheel speed. And then, if you don't have the guard, he got hit by a 4-inch grinding wheel. Quarter of the wheel was embedded in his cheek. So you can imagine that. And I didn't show the photo because it's some people get pretty upset by it. But, it's sticking in the cheek, and that's not good. But this is a Metabo. It goes 8,000, 10,000 RPM, and it's all got guards, So the guy doing the door jam, this is a pretty quick saw. Good thing to cut metal and wood, but you got to use the guard. A worker grinding metal without eye protection, what type of injury is most likely? Well, the word is eye protection. Repetitive strain injury, B, puncture wound, C, eye injury from flying debris, D, burn from overheating. You're right, eye injury from flying debris. Not every question has to be hard. Which control measure is most effective when operating grinders to reduce hazard? A, ensuring guards are in place. B, ensuring proper ventilation systems. C, increasing the grinder speed for efficiency. D, wearing non-slip footwear. A, ensuring guards are in place is correct. Jacks have to have rated capacities, and when you jack up a truck, even if you're looking at it, you have to know the weight of the truck. And then underneath the truck, you're going to put jack stands. People have a hard time understanding, well, why can't I just get underneath this? Well, all jacks will fail over time. Now, I have a floor jack like this. It's 30 years old. It has never failed. It's never leaked, but eventually it will. It's not designed to make 100 years. Not that I'm going to live more 100 years, but everything's going to have a capacity. This has got 6 for 6 tons, so that can handle a 12,000-pound truck. You can't be putting a big, heavy piece of equipment underneath with this jack stand. You'd overload it. You always want to check every day you got no hydraulic leaks, because if it's leaking hydraulic, that means the seal could go and drop you instantly. OSHA's going to want some kind of proof that this jack has a rated capacity by doing a proof test. So one abatement method is to do a proof test. That means you put 125%. So if this could lift 10,000 pounds, you'd put 12,500 pounds. Take some video or photos of this being tested, and you could say, now I can put a 10,000 pound capacity because I got proof it could handle that. Remember, there's the safety factor. It should be designed for a factor of 3, really, but proof test leads that you've done a test on it and it works. $2,000. That's what that fine was. This kills people 1, 2, 3 mechanics a year. They get up there with a floor jack. This person has 100% faith that this floor jack made by some person in another country could hold it up there. I mean, this is, I don't trust it because I've seen enough deaths with this. And this person's all the way underneath the vehicle, and there's no jack stands, so that's not good at all. And my question is the vehicle in park with the brakes, emergency brake pulled, or do we have any chocks? Because remember, if this moves sideways a little bit, it's going to roll the jack, and then it's going to drop the vehicle on them. So a lot of hazards in this. And again, people just said, I just got to go into it real quick. Well, you don't need to die real quick either, so that's not good. So a lot of times they might just have the metric units, 5,000 kilograms. That means 2.2 pounds to a kilogram. So this is going to hold 11,000 pounds or so. Smaller one at 3,000 kilograms. Again, all the jacks. I don't think I've ever saw a floor jack that you bought at a store not come with a capacity. If the label's been worn off because you're using solvents, then you got to go get the jack marked on it. You have to put the capacity on it. You're supposed to try to get the original manufacturer labels. This is an old floor jack. This is one where we have the cylinder going up, and then you put I call it a rod that's designed, and you go back up and down with this, and this thing will lift, 5,000. If it says this one's 50 tons, I doubt it. But, it could possibly be, but I That's pretty. I mean, 100,000 pounds. Whew, that's a lot of weight. I definitely want to be seeing who made this, which I can't tell from it. You know, maybe that would tell me it. When a worker uses a jack with a weight capacity lower than the load being lifted, what's the immediate risk? A, loss of balance. B, slip and fall. C, electrical hazards. D, jack collapse. It is indeed collapse of the jack. D. When using hydraulic lift equipment, what should be inspected before operation? A, the speed of equipment. B, capacity and fluid leaks. C, electrical compatibility. D, noise level. Well, capacity and fluid leaks. Hand tools got to been around for 100 years, and when they did the test in 1970 for the CSP, they had hand tool questions. And you know, they talk about you can't have chisels or other things you beat on with mushroomed heads because this will eventually break off. You can't have tools with cracked shafts or damaged things. You don't use a screwdriver as a chisel or a pry bar. You don't use a wrench as a hammer. Those kind of things. Anything that's taped could be hiding cracks. So I always open it up. Let's see what's underneath it, you know, because it's not there for grip and comfort. I always use PPE such as safety glasses. I would go to helmets. I'm a big fan of helmets, so we would wear that. And then, like I said, we make sure that the area is clean of tripping hazards, slipping hazards, and make sure their tools are sharp. You know, when you get a stuck bolt, which can drive you crazy, you can get a wrench, and if you can't open it with the wrench in there, that means you got a problem. You know, you can always cut the bolt off and, you know, drill it out. But, you know, some people will get this cheetah bar, which is just a length of pipe, put on the wrench to get more leverage. This is asking for the bolt to be ripped off or the wrench to slip off, and you're going to go flying, you know. So not recommended, you know. And part of this is just making sure your equipment has got other things that are lubricated and stuff. There are things like Loctite and WD-40 and other things that can loosen the rusted parts. So I would use WD-40, let it sit for 10 minutes, and then come back and try it. Impact wrenches are getting stronger and stronger. If you have a small object and it's not secure, sometimes it'll spin the object and now it's flying, and that's not what you want. Again, always wear safety goggles or gloves or face shield when you're using these, because if it comes back at you or the part goes in there, it could be a problem. I mean, sometimes when you're just putting in a fastener, the fastener just kicks out wrong because it just it hits something hard on there. Make sure it's in good condition. Usually that's, you know, the big issue. But I've had people have, you know, they get in there and they're going into hard wood and they're not used to an impact wrench, you know. And you hit it full, hit the trigger right quick and way, the wrist gets broken, you know. So you got to learn how to use these tools by, you know, kind of easing into them gradually and, you know, practicing with them, because otherwise some of this torque is just huge. And again, I don't want to pick on pry bars, but if you're using a pry bar or anything else to get leverage to move something, just make sure you're not in the way if it slips off. When you're pushing this and it falls, you're going to go right into the next trailer that you're going into. So he's using a pry bar to move the wheel of the machine. He pinned his fingertip against the door, causing Foy to lose tissue. I'm a big fan of impact-resistant gloves. They rate them 1, 2, or 3. They came out this May. Maybe get impact resistant too, you know, just to prevent some of these injuries to your hands. He got an amputation of fingertip. That's almost 100,000 every time. Make sure your body's not over it. So, you know, he's out there, he's standing aside, he's going to pull this over. You get underneath it, it's going to come right up into your chin, right underneath your arm. So that's not a good situation. You know, you always want to use, you know, both hands on the pry bar to control it, and go with a steady force. Don't hit it and jerk it and, you know, try to, you know, slam it. Again, different types of part. I use one like this to take off a lot of stuff from a roofing tile or wood out of a vertical stud and stuff like this. Always wear work gloves, because, you know, you're dealing with nails, you're dealing with wood. You want to make sure you have eye protection, because something can always fly that you don't. Again, I'm going to wear the helmet instead of hard hats, but you know, the old days they talk about hard hats. And again, you know, don't use the chisel by making a screwdriver a chisel. You know, go get a real chisel and stuff. Because people find out this thing breaks or it shatters or flies, and that's not good. What's the primary hazard when using an impact wrench without securing the workpiece? A, overexertion. B, workplace displacement. Workpiece displacement. I always say workplace. C, electrical shock. D, noise exposure. And the answer is B, workplace displacement. During a safety inspection, you observe a worker using a screwdriver to pry open a metal case. Think of a big metal box, a screwdriver. What's the best action? Warn the worker verbally. B, reinforce proper grip techniques. C, replace the screwdriver with a pry bar. D, require gloves during a prying task. Okay, these are a tough question because they're all kind of good. But the answer is replace the screwdriver with a pry bar. Remember, we're not going to use the screwdriver. We're going to stop and get the right tool for the equipment. Then talk about, coaching the worker to, don't do this again. Compressed air. This is being cited a lot in, the standard 1910-242B. Compressed air shall be not used for cleaning purposes like, metal chips, wood chips, except when reduced to less than 30 psi and only with effective chip guarding protection and PPE. So you're going to have a chip guard. You can see the chip guard over here. There's no size of the chip guard in OSHA. So you got to have something. Most of the time, it's going to be, it looks like a circular disc. You put it through the shaft and you have a bolt that tightens it to the shaft. This one's got a nozzle opening at the side, but the idea is that you're not going to get an air embolism. Once a decade, I see an embolism where it's forcing an air bubble into your body, which is not good. You expect all the hoses. Make sure your compressed air hoses are good. Don't play with anybody, because if you're blowing chips to somebody, it can go in their face and their hair and get it in their eye. Most of the manufacturers of compressed air systems say do not use it to clean off the dust on your clothing. Use a vacuum. They're figuring out if you don't say it, then they're getting sued when somebody does it and says, well, look, I got a particle in my eye, my retina got scratched, and you didn't have that in your safety rule as a compressor manufacturer. Knowledge check. What conditions is compressed air permitted for cleaning, and what safety measures must be in place? You notice when you look at it, this is the whole page. A lot of people are saying, I look at this and I get these questions, and it's just tough to do these because it's a lot of words. Compressed air shall be used for cleaning at any pressure as long as ocean compliant nozzle is used. That's A. B, compressed air can be used for cleaning if reduced less than 30 psi and only with effective chip guarding and PPE. C, compressed air can be used for cleaning at pressures up to 50 psi providing warning signs are posted in the area. D, compressed air shall never be used for cleaning purposes under any circumstance. Well, remember, we can use chips to clean that, so we know D's not right. The answer is used for cleaning reduced to 30 psi, then with only effective chip guarding and PPE. So just take your time and read these questions, and you'll do well. Reciprocating saws go back and forth. They have a lot of strength. They can cut through metal. They can cut through wood. A lot of times the accidents happen because it jams, or like this case, the tree pinches the blade, and the blade now is so strong you're going back and forth and getting thrown off the ladder. OSHA would immediately cite that this ladder was not used as intended because you folded it up. But the current rules by most manufacturers of ladders said you cannot do this with two hands. You must face the ladder and have a grip at all times. So that would still be a violation of using the ladder not as intended. But this one, he's up there. I would always tell people, work at heights, put the helmet on. Because remember, your head is up, 9 feet, 3 meters. You fall, hit that curb over there, this concrete curb, there goes your head. You got a fractured skull and you might be dead or paralyzed. Loss of control of this vibration happens all the time, because sometimes it's so strong and you can't get the cut right. It just moves on you, so very dangerous situation here. Nail guns, 37,000 people, according to CAC, went to nail gun. Some of the, most times you're shooting the object. There's two types of nail guns. One where you put your finger on the trigger and you tap, 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 it fires a nail every tap. Other ones, you push it down. There's a safety mechanism that has to be depressed. You have to pull the trigger, then you go to the next one, push it down, pull the trigger. Workers don't like this because it takes trigger pulls, but I like it because you accidentally put that nail gun and on your knee, it's going to shoot right through your knee, because people get in the habit of carrying it with a trigger, and that's not a good habit. He had the nail gun to fire on contact, which is, tap, 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 as I call it. Hit his body, shot a nail in his chest, and he's calling his wife. Tell him he was hurt. He died. Could you imagine that spouse of his getting a call that he's waiting for the ambulance? I don't think I'm going to make it. Wow, what a horrible call. And what I tell you, these things, you get in the habit of carrying by the trigger because your hand literally becomes part of the nail gun. And, he put it right in the knee. That's expensive, drilled into the bone, and you're not going to be walking very easily there, and that's going to be very expensive to take that out. And wear safety glasses, no horseplay, because remember, this would kill somebody if you shoot it at them. The worst one I saw was up in Michigan. This guy shot the nail right into part of his eye and his skull. He didn't die, but you know what? He's going to be disabled. You get this kind of brain injury and expensive loss. That's expensive. So you never, if you learn anything about pistol safety, you never point it at anybody, including yourself. Never look down the barrel. And then always presume it's loaded until you verify by opening it up that there's no charge or nail in it. So you can see the nails will be in the cylinder like this. You depress that trigger, and you have your finger on that trigger on the ones that go tap, tap, tap. That's not good. That's where you get it into your, your leg, your finger, your toe, everything. Chainsaws, brutal. Jagged cuts, you don't want them. Manufacturers, always wear the helmet, ear protection, face shield, gloves, and cut-resistant chaps. Multiple layers of synthetic materials that will jam up the blade so it doesn't cut your legs. They will show you this in every single manual. They'll sell it at any dealership that you buy this in. You got to make sure the brake works. You have the ability to pull it forward and stop it. You let go of the trigger, it'll stop it right away, but you got to think about, having the proper protection. Cut-resistant boots. If you're going to do stuff at your legs, you ought to think about getting cut-resistant boots, not your normal, tennis shoes or anything else like that. If you got the gasoline-powered saws, they are oil and gas mixture, very precise amount to mix. You don't mix it right, you'll be screaming like these two guys at each other. You can't get it started. You can pull it 37 times. You're not going to get it right. You're going to have to empty out the contents, like my cousin says, and then clean it out and put the right measured mixture in. So the electric chainsaw has been a very good device to have. If you got the gasoline powered saw, you're doing proper starting is on the ground. Not exactly ergo friendly, but that's what's required by the manufacturers. You started like this, which is 99% of the people first using a chainsaw. That's called drop starting, and that can go where you don't expect it to go. It's against the rules because the tree trimming group made the OSHA rules for how to use the chainsaws and protecting people during logging and tree trimming. Chainsaw was not started on the ground, $14,000. My guy that I know, he got cited $2,500. I says, be thankful. It could be much worse. Portable bandsaws. These things can cut through an I-beam that's 6 inches tall in less than a minute. It's incredible how strong these are. He's going to try to cut a copper cable by trimming off the plastic. That is the wrong tool to use for that. Saw jammed on the cable, and then next thing you know, amputated his index finger. A lot of the new saws will require you to hold and press both triggers at the same time to start it. That's a good safety device. A lot of them are cordless now, so you're not going to cut the cord. Chop saws all come with a lower blade guard, plastic, almost all of them. This one, you got to make sure the speed is marked on the saw, but this one has never been cleaned. This one is so dull that it shot back and the kickback went through the window. And part of the thing is that I says, well, your blade has never been changed. Look at it, it's all black. It's all that sap is there. And they just never knew how to change the blade, so they never did. That's not good. It's not even though it's a diamond blade, it won't last forever. But the new rule on the chainsaws that came out about 2015 is your hand has to be 6 inches from the rotating blade. And then we tell people, wait till the blade stops before you're going to clean or pick up the part you cut. You got to do that, because I've had several amputations last year where people reached in there too fast with the blade moving. Vertical augers, I think John Deere way back 20 years ago said you're going to be 10 feet away from it, because if your clothing gets caught, it's going to be a problem. Anytime you dig in all the states, it's going to be a call before you dig. So we got electrical coming over here. There's going to be a tolerance in my state of 18 inches. You have to prove where the line is at. Expose it by hand digging. Some states are 24 inches. Some are 36 inches. If you're going to be near electrical within 10 feet, cables are de-energized and visibly grounded. That's what that's going to look like. And that's a proper way to deal with it. Again, belt sanders usually very few inches, because everything's less than a quarter inch. If you have it less than a quarter inch, it's pretty tough to get your finger in there. But still wear eye protection. Pipe threaders, I just mentioned it because we've had deaths with people getting caught in the long pipe it's cutting. And if you get caught with your hoodie, like in the case that happened in the 90s that we investigated, he had the on-off switch. He didn't have the foot switch. And if he had this foot switch, it would have sat there and shut off the pipe threader. And it would have saved his life. Fans have a guard of a quarter inch. If you buy a new fan, you can't stick your fingers in the blade. If you can stick your fingers in the blades like this, you're asking for an amputation. You got to go work on it. You got to have the guard on it. You should have, after you take out the guard, a locked out fan then. Mixer killed people in the 80s. I mean, I had people flip over this guard, which looks like a checkerboard or a grid, and clean it when it's rotating. That's not the proper way. You're supposed to clean it with the guard down, put the hose or the water pressure through the hose. People go, I don't want to do that. Well, that's not doing it right. You can still do it right this way. It works fine. You can also have the mixer off. Then you can open it up and clean it that way. But you don't want to be out there doing it with it running, because like the guy in Florida, he grabbed his gold chain and broke his neck. And, I thought, wow, that's a strong gold chain. That's not good. Again, router accidents, 2023, I had several router amputations, Employee using the hand router, kicked back, caught the little finger. They make it so you got to hold both hands on this thing. That's what you're supposed to do. You one arm the router, and this thing hits a knot, it's going to go somewhat and hit your finger. That's not going to be quick. It's going to have a little rotating blade that's going to cut a groove in there. So again, he's going to clamp it down before he does any kind of work on this piece. That's what's got to be done. You got to wear your safety glasses. With the routers, they tell you don't wear gloves and long sleeve shirts, because that can catch up in the router. Again, he's got a channel. He's going to cut a groove into this piece. He's going to make sure it's secured down. He's got his sleeves rolled up, no gloves. That's what they want to see. So workers using a reciprocating saw to cut overhead piping, what's the primary hazard? This is one of a couple things that are right, but there's a big hazard. Loss of control due to vibration, A. Electric shock from the saw is B. Uneven cuts is C. Damage to surrounding structures. And the answer is A. Loss of control due to vibration. Worker uses a dam extension cord with a power drill. What's the most immediate hazard? Well, that should be pretty obvious, but we didn't cover it. A, tripping hazard. B, electric shock. C, excessive noise. D, insufficient power supply. Electric shock is the answer, correct. Robots, I'm surprised there's not more robot questions, because and all the big manufacturing companies, they got robots everywhere. If you're going to have a robot, in the old days, you used to have a controller direct the robot. Today, the robot's just programmed. You're not going to have a person there anymore. But you got to watch out for the robot. Again, routine, repetitive tasks should be automated. It doesn't make any sense not to automate it, because you could save a lot of production work. And as I tell the companies that I deal with, if you don't automate this, your competitor from around the world will do this, whether it be from India, China, or any other country. And the accidents happen usually under conditions that are not expected. When the robot runs, you're not in the area. Hopefully you have machine guarding around the area so that if you open up the door, it stops. and a control sensor that picks up that the person's in the area. A lot of rules not in OSHA standards. OSHA is going to require just machine guarding. So what I don't want to see is this robot that can go in 360 degrees, now barrier guard. We want a barrier guard, because if this moves unexpectedly, I'm going to get hit or somebody else is going to get hit. That's not good. Very easy. You'll see pictures of barrier guards around robots. But a lot of these are, you can get hit by the robot and that causes a physical blow, or you can get crushed between the robot arm and a fixed item, like a column or this back machine. When you train the robot, you usually train at a slower speed, like a fourth of the speed, tenth of a speed, and you walk it through what it's got to do. This is going to be very detailed. It's going to take time, but this is part of doing the work. And then once it knows how to do the work, it does that work perfectly, pretty well every time. It has like a 97% uptime if it's done right. But you got to make sure if people see something that's not right, they just don't go in there and try to fix it with the robot still there, because the robot might do something they're not expecting. And you can imagine getting your hand caught between the metal of the machine and the robot arm. So accidents, it kills 1 person, 2, 3 every year. Like one of them inside a robot with an interlock gate, struck behind a transfer robot, crushed his chest and his neck. The whole thing is that he didn't lock it out. You could do things like put an interlock door, it stops the robot while it's open, shut it. The proximity sensor recognizes that the person is in there. This one was taking a robot CD jewel case. The case is the plastic that's clear. The CD is the silver disc. And the arm cycled, struck the employee, hit his head and his ribs, transported to hospital. He died a couple weeks later. So you can put a mat that senses the person's on the mat and the robot can't move until the person gets off. Or more likely, you just put a sensor that recognizes this whole area, that shoots a laser beam down here that says, hey, there's a person in the area over here, 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 and here. We have to wait. As the person approaches the robot can move in super slow motion, less force motion. And when there's a danger point, it actually just stops the robot. And as they back away, then the robot can resume. The usually situation is like, we've got a barrier guard. It could be interlocked. You open it, it doesn't move. But the question is, they said, well, the person didn't de-energize equipment. We can go beyond that now. We don't have to rely on the person to do this. We can put robotic controls and sensors so we don't have to restart the robot after locking it out. And that's easy. The robotic sensor is about 3,500. You might need 3 of them in this room, and they could pretty well cover 100% of the area, because this robot's taking the parts and they're going to put it on the pallet, and then pallet comes down here, the forklift operator gets it. Routine, repetitive work. This saves 1, 2, or 3 jobs every shift. It is incredibly productive. And think about this, it might be a $60,000 robot, and you're going to save worker salaries for 3 shifts times 2 workers or 3 workers. Again, like I said, the first thing you do when you get a robot, you're going to do a risk assessment. You're going to sit down with the manufacturer and you're going to talk to them about what happens, how to protect the worker, because you have to sit there and figure out what are the hazards that the worker is going to be exposed to. You can formalize it and put it in writing. It's kind of like a hazard analysis or area hazard analysis, but you can go in and do this first, and then think about bringing in the sensors, proximity sensors, fixed barrier, interlock guards, things like that, limiting devices that let the robot know that the person's approaching, going to go to reduced force, reduced speed mode, eventually stop, and then it could have, before it restarts, 10 seconds, 30-second flashing lights and horns that people know, hey, this is getting ready to start up. And then teaching, you have the robot speed. Remember, these things can be changed. If it moves 1 meter per second, you could move it at 0.1 meter per second for the teaching mode and stuff. But you want to do this, and this is easy to do. That's why we only have like 1 or 2 or 3 deaths a year. It's really low compared to how many robots are out there. Which of the following is the most important safety consideration when first integrating new industrial robots in the workplace? This is a tough question, but this is as tough as you get. Ensuring the robot software is up to date. B, conducting comprehensive risk assessment. D, C, providing basic operator training on all the robot controls. D, installing safety interlock on all access gates. All these are good, but when it says the word first, I would have highlighted in this question the word first. And so what's the answer we talked about? It is ensuring that we did conducting a comprehensive risk assessment on it. All these other ones are important, but first we want to do that risk assessment. The workers using a robotic arm in a manufacturing facility, like we've seen all those other ones. What control reduces the risk of injury from unexpected motion? A, installing physical barriers. B, providing non-conductive tools. C, limiting the robot's arm speed. D, using lighter materials. So we want to not get hit by the robot. What would we want to use? Installing the physical barriers. Very good. All right, thank you for your participation. This will be put back on YouTube. This is probably number 22 or 23. And we'll do one a month, and we'll go back and forth till we get all the domains copied and all the topics in the domains on it. So I have almost a 3-year plan to do most of it. Good luck, everybody. Join the BCSP Facebook group and LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. The BCSP study group is on Facebook, and this will help you out. Talk to you later.